one of the four beasts saying, "Come and see." And I saw, and behold, a white horse.
These demonstrators have gathered on the mall and placed a pair of boots to commemorate every American serviceman and woman killed in Iraq.
There's a man going round.
The biggest mistake we have made, it's our mistake, it's not the mistake of the Arabs, was not finishing off Saddam Hussein in 1991.
And we're not talking about the last September 11th, we're talking about the next September 11th.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region.
What are the consequences if the U.S. does not finish off Saddam Hussein as the second step in the war on terrorism?
Well, it would mean that the president, having declared a global war on terrorism, didn't follow through, didn't take out the most threatening terrorist state in the world.
Do we have any evidence yet of chemical or biological weapons on the ground?
I've never seen the intelligence community as unified and confident in their basic judgment here.
We know he's got tons of weapons in his own country, and we're not going to ever locate them until he's gone.
Within the last 48 hours, I've gotten notification that 2 more of my friends' children have died because of injuries that they sustained in Iraq.
Among their leading spokesmen were Richard Pearl and James Woolsey. Both sat on the Defense Policy Board advising Donald Rumsfeld, and they used their inside status to assure the press that overthrowing Hussein would be easy.
Once you got to Iraq and took it over and took down Saddam Hussein's government, then what are you going to put in its place? It's a quagmire if you do that.
We cannot allow a man with his record, with his hatred of America, with his declared hostility, and with his intentions of being in possession of these weapons. The idea that we have to have an imminent threat, that it has to be tomorrow, is absurd.
I knew before 9/11 that many of the people who came into the administration were committed to toppling Saddam Hussein and doing it with military force if necessary.
Dan Rather is talking about prominent Washington figures in and outside of government known as neoconservatives. They had long wanted to transform the Middle East, beginning with the removal of Saddam Hussein.
Weapons of mass destruction in the hands of Saddam Hussein, plus his known contact with terrorists, including al-Qaeda terrorists, is simply a threat too large to continue to tolerate.
We would be seen as liberators in Iraq.
The administration knows his name is vowed revenge. He has anthrax. He loves biological weapons. He has terrorist training camps, including the 707, to practice on.
Weapons of mass destruction in the hands of dictators who have relationships with terrorists poses a danger to the United States, and one that we have to find a response to.
Major newspapers and magazines gave them prime space to make their case, including the possibility that 9/11 had been sponsored, supported, and perhaps even ordered by Saddam Hussein.
I couldn't believe it. Members of this administration were in active, heated debate over whether aluminum tubes really meant that the Iraqis were developing nuclear weapons. Some within the administration saying, of course not. It's not the same kind of aluminum tube. At the same time that members of the administration were telling the American people to be fearful of mushroom-shaped clouds.
The main reason we went into Iraq at the time was we thought he had weapons of mass destruction. It turns out he didn't.
Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake, all right? Now, you can take it any way you want, and it took Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced for president, it took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It took him 5 days before his people told him what to say, and he ultimately said it was a mistake. The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake. So George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But so you still think he should be impeached?
I think it's my turn, isn't it? You do whatever you want. You call it whatever you want. I want to tell you, they lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
All right.
And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts, And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him.